Okay, controversial judgment call, but I am making it. Today, it was a little chilly outside, and I was mowing my grass out there, and I saw a few leaves on the ground. So I therefore decree, with the lighting of the ceremonial pumpkin spice candle, that it is officially autumn. Barry, would you like to do the honors? I understand, it's a big responsibility. I will take care of this. With my fancy electric lighter kind of dealy. Come on. Ah, screw it. Oh, no, we got it going. We got it going. It's just like, it's the closest thing I have to like a taser, so it feels cool when I use this thing. Alright, come on. There we go. Alright. So, it's autumn, and oh, that smells so good. Alright, so I already did a video about Kuzan's secret mission, undercover in the Marines, infiltrating the Blackbeard crew. That's 100% what he's doing. And then I made another video about Aka Inu's goal in the series, trying to take out the Gorosei so he can rule over the entire world with an iron fist, also 100% guaranteed. So, yeah, I guess I should do a video about Fujitora's quest. I know, the way that I phrase that makes it sound like he's gonna go rescue the princess at the end of the world or something, but no, he does have a quest. He has an ambition that he's going to be pursuing in this story. Don't get too excited about a video on Kizaru, though, because I'm not even sure what that video would be about. Like, what would I talk about? Like, Kizaru smokes some weed and just kinda hangs out and watches some Netflix. Maybe he watches that new show that he was getting recommendations for, but he realized that that's kind of a commitment, you know, because it's like 3 seasons deep, so he just decides to watch a movie and then go to bed, and then because he has work the next day, and, you know, I don't know what I could make that video, but no. Alright, so Fujitora, first thing, before we even get into talking about what he's trying to do, I want to address a point here. I think this was in the Kong video I made, maybe the Sengoku video, but I was talking about the hierarchy in the Marines. I was talking about different Marine ranks, right? And I mentioned how, yeah, in order to become like an admiral or a vice admiral, you can't just be given that position. You kind of have to work your way up. I figured if you start off in the Marines and you're like a seaman recruit and you're really like exemplary, like you're crazy good, like Kobe. You know, Kobe was taught by Garp personally, so I'm sure Kobe did not go through every single rank in between. I'm sure, you know, maybe he jumped from, you know, the chore boy to Master Chief Petty Officer after some training from Garp, and then maybe he went to like lieutenant and then captain. He jumped some ranks. But when it comes to an admiral position, like that's something that's really high up there to be considered a high Navy admiral of the Marines. So you really got to work your way up. You can't just skip positions. Well, people brought up Fujitora. What about him? Because he kind of just was given that position. And I was sitting there thinking, well, actually, oh crap, did he just get that position? I like check in the backstory and everything. So we know about the world military draft that happened after Marineford during the 2-year time skip. And this makes sense after Marineford was devastated by the Whitebeard crew, and then after, you know, the mass breakout at Impel Down, although to be fair, the Marines did not spread that information to the entire world, or rather the world government made it so they could not spread that information to the world. But this was still kind of an issue. Marineford was devastated, a lot of Marines lost their lives that day, and they still have the issue of these level 6 prisoners running around the world. The world doesn't know about it, but it's still an issue. So it makes sense that they decided to initiate a draft. They're like, hey, citizens of the One Piece world, whose name is yet to be revealed, so it's just the One Piece world. Yeah, so you guys saw that epic battle between us and Whitebeard, right? Well, we executed Fire Fist Ace. Yeah, we're pretty awesome. We're the Marines. Now you can do your part. You know, there's like an Uncle Sam poster, except it's like Garp instead of Uncle Sam, and he's like, I want you to fist alongside me in the Marines, you know? So you gotta get people riled up. You gotta get people to join the Marines, and they had a draft, kind of similar to how drafts worked in our world, I would assume, you know, maybe like during the Vietnam War or something, where it's like maybe a lottery, like they hand out people tickets, and there's like, okay, here are your tickets, here's the visual Den Den Mushi on which numbers are gonna be called today, right? And their goal, I think, was twofold. Number one, yes, to increase the ranks of the Marines, to get public interest in the Marines really up there, to be like, yeah, the Marines, yeah, you took out Whitebeard, kind of, not really, Blackbeard was there, but, you know, Marines, yeah, you're gonna do it. So, increase public opinion of the Marines, and also to kind of fill the gaps in the admirals, because after Akainu and Aokiji's fight, Aokiji left, and Akainu gets promoted to Fleet Admiral, but then you just got Kizaru. Now, I love Kizaru. Kizaru's like, well, I guess I'm the only admiral left. I mean, Kizaru is more than enough of an admiral. Okay, he can maybe take on 2 spots, but 3, you have to have that rank means something still. There has to be 3 admirals. It's like there always is 3, right? So there has to be 3. So you got to get 2 more admirals, but Garp decided to leave the Marines. He's kind of an instructor. He's not really an official vice admiral anymore. And because that rank is so sacred to become an admiral of the Marines, they couldn't just, like, give a placeholder. You know, they couldn't just have, like, Momonga be promoted to admiral and be like, congratulations, Momonga, you're gonna be the new admiral until you figure it out. Strawberry, too, you're an admiral. I mean, I love Momonga. Momonga's awesome, but I don't think he's quite admiral material yet, okay? That rank is still very sacred, okay? You need to have somebody with the power of Kizaru or Aokiji and Akainu to hold that slot, okay? So I think that's the other reason they did that draft. And it's just like, all right, maybe somewhere out there in the world, in the Four Blues or in the Grand Line somewhere, there's like a strong civilian, and, you know, they're you know, maybe interested in joining the Marines and the world government. We can get them in here and they can become the new admirals, right? And that's apparently exactly what happened with Fujitora and Green Bull. All right, I'm not really sure where they were at in the world. Like I said before, I really like to think that Fujitora was just some grizzled old mountain man, the blind sword master living on his own, and then the Marines heard about him and they went to go meet him, and then maybe Akainu talked to him, because apparently Akainu and Fujitora have like a relationship, like they at least knew each other, you know, at least got to know each other to the point where they were friends the last 2 years. So maybe that's what happened, and then he decided to join the Marines. Green Bull, I have no idea what was up with Green Bull, but yeah, in that one particular very rare instance, yeah, it seems like Fujitora and Green Bull were just given the position of admiral. Now, there's a few drawbacks with that, and now we're getting into the whole quest of Fujitora. When someone joins the Marines at a young age and they work their way up through the ranks properly, like look at the 3 admirals beforehand, they all, you know, began, you know, as like relatively young kids when they started the Marines, like maybe not kids, but like teenagers, early 20s. That's when Kizaru and Akainu and Aokiji all joined, right? And so in their 50s, they're now admirals. They've been in the Marines for decades, okay? Which means, I mean, maybe not necessarily brainwashing, but certainly spending enough time in the Marines, you get to learn about the world. You get to learn how dangerous the pirates are. You get to learn about what the world government expects from you. And, you know, your superiors, if your superiors are kind of like brainwashed by the world government, then they're going to teach you things about that, and then you might end up getting brainwashed by the world government, okay? What I'm saying here is it's a different story altogether when you take somebody that was previously not affiliated with the Marines, apparently at all, and you just give them one of the highest ranked positions in the entire organization, which is what happened with Fujitora and Green Bull, apparently, from what we understand so far, okay? They probably had some kind of evaluation, I'm sure. I'm sure they probably sat Fujitora down and gave him like a psychological evaluation. Like, I don't really know how that would have went. Like, all right, Mr. Isho, how do you feel about pirates? I feel that anyone would rob someone else of their livelihood deserves to be punished. Okay, he's in, you know, like, I'm not sure. I'm sure they gave him a psychological evaluation. I'm sure they evaluated his level of strength, because admirals do have to be strong physically. So it's like, all right, Mr. Isho, what can you bring to the table? He just takes up his sword. He's like, you see that mountain over there? He's like, why, yes, indeed, I do see this mountain over here. Shing, and the mountain just floats up on top of, like, the clouds, and just, whoo! And then it just crashes down on the other side of the island, just boom, in the ocean. Did you just cut up a mountain and then throw it? He's like, I did indeed. Ching. I hope that would be good enough of a demonstration for you. It is indeed, Mr. Isho. All right, Mr. Green Bull, now show us what you got over here. So I'm not going to bore you with Isho's audition, but with Green Bull's audition, but I'm sure we'll get that soon enough, right? So he flips the bill when it comes to being strong enough, and, you know, psychologically he is against, you know, pirates and all that stuff. But the problem is that he didn't have all of those years of, like, you know, what a real Marine does or what the world government expects from them. I'm sure that he was given a crash course in this. I'm sure maybe even, like, because this was such an unusual circumstance for Fujitora and Green Bull to be welcomed in the Marines at such a high rank at the very beginning, I'm sure maybe even the Gorosei themselves spoke to the two of them. Be like, hey, listen, I know this is unusual, and I know this is a position you didn't really expect to find yourselves in, but you're in it now. And here's the dealio. You listen to us. All right? The whole reason why we even gave you this position is because we think that you fall in line with the ideals of the Marines and you can make this work. You can spread it to the world that the admirals are back in action and they're just as strong as they've always been, okay? You certainly have the strength for it. Now you have to prove it to us. And maybe even the Gorosei threaten them a little bit and say, hey, listen, just letting you know, you accepted this job, or you were drafted into this job. Maybe you didn't even have a choice. You were in this job now. You can't just walk away from this. You can't just say, well, I gave it a shot, not much for me. This position is too sacred. It's too important. If you do something out of line to the point where we can't have you in the Marines anymore, you're not just going to get to go back to your regular lives. You're going to get a one-way ticket to level 6 Impel Down to show us how serious we are here. All right, so maybe they did have a situation like that. No, but, you know, they had to teach them a lesson somehow, like what they expect from them, right? To just be giving them this invitation, right? Maybe Fujitora wasn't just a regular civilian. Maybe he was an old friend of Akainu from way back, and maybe when they needed admirals, maybe he mentioned to the Gorosei, to the higher-ups, he's like, yeah, I know this guy named Fujitora. He's a friend of mine back in the day. He's this really strong swordsman. He's blind, but he has this Zushi no Mi. He has a devil fruit. It's really powerful. He can manipulate gravity. So, you know, maybe I can coerce him into joining the Marines. You know, maybe we have similar ideals, right? But, of course, this all comes to a head at Dressrosa when Doflamingo, who is a royal Shishibukai, a warlord, goes against, you know, the world government and starts doing all this crazy stuff on Dressrosa and starts torturing his own citizens by turning them into toys. And Fujitora finds out about all this, and they clash very briefly, and all the stuff with Luffy then shows up and defeats Doflamingo, and Fujitora lays prostrate, you know, begging forgiveness from Riku Dole III and every, you know, citizen of Dressrosa, you know, just like, this is our fault, we dropped the ball on this. And then that really pissed off Aki, you know, and the world government. Is like, how dare he do this? How dare he apologize for our mistake? That was like rule 1 in the packet. The Marines and the world government are never at fault. It's always the pirates. It's underlined and bolded. Blame the pirates, not us. You know, and Fujitora broke that rule. So yeah, they're not very happy about that, right? But he's still an admiral, and I think also they kind of need him. I mean, they sort of do. And so he had this whole thing where he's like, I'm going to try to abolish the warlord system now. I'm going to talk to Vegapunk and see what he has being cooked up in his lab. I'm going to address the nobility at Reverie, and I'm going to try to get this whole warlord system just taken off, abolished. Now, I don't think that's his endgame. I don't think it's just like Fujitora sitting around and being like, all right, I just got to get the warlords abolished, then everything will be copacetic. No. Fujitora, with his sense of justice, his blind justice. See what I did there, Barry? Yeah, see what I did there? Blind because he's blind. Okay, sure. But no, that's just step 1, I think. All right, in the bigger picture here, what I think Fujitora sees, because we saw how Fujitora reacts when people are like cheating him or manipulating him in a way, like at that gambling hall they were at Dressrosa when those thugs were just like, hey, yeah, man, you bet on black on roulette? Well, sorry, it ended up red. Oh, now you're betting on red and it ended up black, man. You are so unlucky. And Fujitora is sitting there and he's just like, well, I guess my luck's not with me today, but hey, at least I have you gentlemen to tell me that I lost. Thank you very much. And then, of course, Luffy walks over and he's just like, hey, you guys, you're actually lying to him. He actually did win. You know what Fujitora's, like, immediate response to that was? He's like, you've been lying to an old blind man? Ching! Crashes the freaking roof on them with his magical gravity powers. All right? This is the kind of guy that literally blinded himself. That's not like a birth defect or something. He took his sword, presumably, to his own eyes to blind himself from the ugliness and evil of the world. evil, like, you know, people taking advantage of an old blind man. That kind of stuff, okay? So, I think Fujitora, you know, maybe the reason he decided to go ahead with this and become an admiral, and the reason I say decide, even though it was a draft, is because with Fujitora's abilities, I feel like he could have refused and he could have gotten away and nobody could have caught him. But let's just say, okay, he was, you know, given the option to, like, join the admirals. He's like, you've been drafted, you got to join the Marines. And he thought about it, and he, you know, maybe if he was like a regular civilian, maybe he thought about the world and like, well, I have heard these pirates have been causing a lot of problems in the world, and I hear the Marines are trying to help you, you know, help the people and everything. So yeah, I'll do that. But like I said, maybe he wasn't privy to everything behind the scenes. Then he starts seeing things behind the scenes. He sees the corruption of not just the warlord system, but also starts to see the problems with the world government themselves, not telling the truth to the world, especially after the Dressrosa incident. So, with Fujitora's mindset, I think it's going to be like, I think he's going to take it upon himself to change the world government. You know, I think he's going to take it upon himself to be like, it's my responsibility to teach the world government a lesson about how the world should truly be. Let me be honest with you. If I had a choice between Aka Inu or Kizaru or, well, we don't really know much about Green Bull right now, or Fujitora to be fleet admiral and, like, let's say get the Gorosei out of, like control the entire Marines their way, I mean, Fujitora, he would probably be the best option, honestly. He's better than Aka Inu, because Aka Inu would just do things just for the sake of wiping out pirates. He just, like, if he had to burn an entire city down, if there was some strong pirates hiding there, even if it meant the deaths of children and, you know, civilians, he would probably do that, because he did that with Ohara, kind of. Aokiji's no longer part of the Marines, but he would be a good fleet admiral, I think. Kizaru, once again, he's unpredictable is what Kizaru is. That's the thing. You just never really know what he's about, and we don't know much about Green Bull. So I guess at the end of the day, this really just comes down to a choice between Aka Inu or Fujitora, but I guess I would go with Fujitora, because Fujitora is at least just like, he's really good at reading people, and that's mostly because he blinded himself and now he has like heightened senses and his observation hockey's like through the roof. So he's really good at like reading people and their like malicious intents, you know, when he understands what's going on around him and stuff. He's just like, I think I see why you did this, why you cheated an old man here just to gain some extra dollars because you think I'm blind and I'm pathetic, you know. Well, I'm gonna teach you a lesson there, sonny, you know. Like, so I guess in that situation I would go over with Fujitora there. But yeah, I think he's seriously going to view it like that. He's going to look at it like the world government is so ridiculously corrupted. He's not going to have a viewpoint where like where Blackbeard just kind of wants to burn everything down and just get rid of everything. Fujitora would probably be like, it's my responsibility to teach them the right path, to put them on the correct path of things, to change the Gorosei's mind, to change the nobles of the world's mind, which he's attempting to do right now at Reverie by abolishing the warlord system. Basically coming to them like he's like the wise sage of the mountains, which he kind of is, and be like, okay, listen up. World government, not bad, but you've kind of lost your way here. First off, you started accepting pirates into your payroll with the warlords. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna fly. We've seen that doesn't work. With Dressrosa, for instance. So, we need to get rid of that, alright? That was a mistake you guys made. Let's get rid of that. And I'm also looking here, I can't read, but I'm looking here at this piece of paper. That makes Fujitora being able to, like, play him and pantomime his actions very difficult because he can't see. But just be like, I'm hearing this note here, and this note says, that, you know, the Tenryubito are like a wash in luxury. Like, from the way that we've learned about Fujitora, the actions of the Tenryubito would not be in his best interest. In fact, honestly, Fujitora, I can kind of see him as a revolutionary. Can't you see that? It's just like the way his actions are and everything, and how he's just like, I'm trying to abolish this system, because he wants what's better for the world. He's still a Marine. Technically, Aka Inu does want what's best for the world as well, but with Aka Inu, it's kind of like by any means necessary. The ends justify the means. If it means that in 100 years we will have peace, I will burn an entire island to the ground now! That's kind of Aka Inu. Fujitora is sort of like, okay, let's not go that far with it. Let's try to make other changes with our policies and see if we can improve the world, you know, that way, instead of just trying to just brute force burn things down and just destroy all the pirates, like, at once. You know, there's other ways we can do this with, like, policy shifts and things. This is getting very kind of political, and there's an election beginning here in the States coming up, so I'm just gonna steer away from that a little bit there. So let's say he does abolish the warlord system. Let's say that does succeed. What would be next? Well, I think he would put his sights... I think he would put his sights more on the Tenryubito than anything. Because the Tenryubito would probably be upset by him doing that, abolishing that system, and he would probably start to view the Tenryubito exactly how messed up they are. And at the end of the day, what the world government does is because of the world nobles, because the Gorosei are world nobles. Of course, he doesn't know about the existence of Im-sama, but he doesn't even really need to know about Im to understand that the corruption is going on here. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would just run away from that. Fujitora doesn't seem like a coward. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would be like, well, this whole corporation, this whole organization is so corrupted, I want no part of it, I'm just gonna leave. No, that doesn't seem to be part of Fujitora's character. It seems like part of Fujitora's character where he's just like, I need to try to steer everybody here on the right track. So his next sights might be on the Gorosei or the Tenryubito just as a whole, which might lead him eventually to the revolutionaries. I feel like if Dragon would have maybe gotten to him first and explained the situation of the world and how corrupted it really was, maybe Fujitora would have went more over to Dragon's side before he went over to the Marine side. Alright, actually that makes me think of a really interesting scenario where maybe Dragon did talk to him first, and then Akainu came to him and explained to him, and both sides kind of wanted him, because he's a ridiculously strong swordsman, like, even disregarding his devil fruit power, because I've heard theories maybe he got the devil fruit after he joined, but still, being able to be so masterful of a devil fruit like that, being able to manipulate gravity, basically, within 2 years, like, that seems like, I think he had the Zushi no Mi beforehand, right? So, let's say both of them did try to recruit him at once, you know, maybe, like, Fujitora decided to go with Akainu because they're old friends or anything, but maybe now he's kind of second-guessing himself, you know, considering what's really going on here, right? But yeah, I think Fujitora would be a good leader. There are a few things that he does that are a little weird. Like, remember that time after the end of Dressrosa when he knew that Straw Hat Luffy was still probably on the island, and he knew he had a bunch of followers there, and he knew he was battle damaged after the fight with Dofi, and he would probably be easy to capture, but he didn't because the dice didn't tell him to. Let's be honest here, that was kind of just a plot device to make it so how Luffy and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet could recover in Dressrosa without leaving the country, but without the Marines who are also stationed in the country going to go look for him. Okay, Fujitora is somebody that views, like, the hands of fate so much to the point where he's sort of like a puppet in that regard, where it's just like, you know, unless the die rolls on a double 6, I will not go after the Straw Hats today. 2 and 3. Okay, well, that's not a double 6. Come on, guys, let's lay around in here and just play some cards. You know, like, are you sure, sir? Are you sure you don't want to go after them? We're pretty sure we know where they're at. The dice did not say double 6, you know, Corporal. It seems pretty clear to me. Maybe we'll try again tomorrow. Next day. Snake eyes. Nope, sorry. Yeah, you know, that's sort of like viewing, you know, reality in a weird way where it's just like, I will not do this thing that I'm literally paid to do. Like, this is my position as an admiral to go after pirates. I'm not going to do that because dice don't tell me to, and I'm like just a puppet of the hands of fate, basically. I mean, that's a little weird for you there, Fujitora, but it's an interesting character trait, if nothing else, right? And even when he did finally decide, oh yes, well now it is finally, like 5 days later, it's finally the day to go after the Straw Hats, and it didn't work. You know, what do you know it? But it seems like even at the end of that confrontation, Fujitora and Luffy seem to have sort of like some camaraderie there. Fujitora even said to Luffy, he's like, you know, it's days like this when I meet someone like a young man like you, where I wish I wouldn't have blinded myself to the world. I would have loved to see your face. And even Luffy was just like, I don't want to hurt you, old man. I don't want to fight you. So, yeah, he seems to just be like somebody that kind of just got roped into this whole Admiral thing, but he doesn't really belong there. All right, or if he does belong there, he should be one of the people that changes it for the better. He's not the kind of person that's just going to follow orders like a dog. That's the best way of me putting it out there. Unless it's from the hands of fate, then dice rolls. Then he does it. But aside from that, he's not really the kind of person that should be listening to the world government, right? All right. Well, or maybe, you know, we don't really go into this too much in One Piece with like talking about like faith and gods and everything like that. But maybe Fujitora just does believe in a higher power than the world government. It's not like he's a Marine and it's like, oh, the higher power is the world government. We'll do whatever the world government tells us because they are in the best interest of the world. Maybe Fujitora believes in like a higher power, like a deity. And he's just like, I don't follow the world government's rules. I follow, you know, my God's rules. And my God, you know, commanded me to do this. Maybe not like devoutly like that, but like the God of fate or something in the dice rolls. Like maybe there's meaning behind that where he's just like, I feel like I have a divine purpose to change the world government for better. That might be something kind of similar to what Fujitora is feeling right now. So yeah, that's Fujitora's quest for the future. So let me know what you feel about that below. And yeah, like I said, probably not going to be a Kizaru video, but if I could think of an angle to go about it, like what Kizaru's goal is here, or his ambition, or his secret mission, or his quest, I'll make a video about it, I guess. All right, well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. It's a lovely autumn time. Make sure you always blow out the candles before you exit a room, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to cause a fire.